Welcome everyone to episode 68 of What's That Sound podcast. My name's Stu Watts and today I spoke with Miggy, who is a producer, songwriter and mixer from Sydney. In this episode, we discussed the importance of adapting your creative process to each individual artist and situation, the need for clear communication across different levels of musical understandings, and the importance of staying authentic and telling your story truthfully. If you got value out of this podcast and you would love to help us, you can spread the word by sharing it on your socials or in a conversation with a friend. That helps us get the word out to as many people as possible. We want to share all of the awesome guests and their stories to as many people as possible. Stay up to date with everything new in the world of What's That Sound by following or subscribing on your social platforms and YouTube and Spotify or Apple Podcasts, any of those. You can rate us highly by giving us 5 stars on those platforms too, or dropping a comment on YouTube, anything like that that helps the algorithm favor us. And if you want to get in touch with us, you can email us directly. The links to our email address and everything else, links to my stuff, links to Miggy's stuff are all in the show notes, so you can access them at any time. With all of that out of the way, thankfully, we can just get into the episode. My conversation with Miggy. Let's go. You're listening to What's That Sound with your host, Stu Watts. Welcome, everyone. I am here today with Miggy. Miggy, welcome to the podcast. It's awesome to have you here, dude.
Absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome, mate. And so for anyone that doesn't know who you are and what you do, just give us a real quick rundown into that, who you are, what you do in the music industry.
So my name is Miggy, or that's what people call me. I'm a producer. I'm a mixing engineer. I am primarily an instrumentalist. I grew up playing drums, but these days spend most of my time in the studio, and it's pretty much my world.
Yeah, hell yeah. Take us back to when you were younger. What did it look like music-wise? Where did that come into the picture for you?
So I actually grew up in South Africa till I was about 14. My family immigrated to Australia. Finished high school here, but I guess my upbringing was, influenced more by world music and different styles. And obviously we were all exposed to more popular stuff, but I guess I kind of sort of widened my musical palette quite a bit at a young age. And the older I got, just exposed to more styles, and always didn't like to box myself into a certain lane stylistically, so to speak. So I work on a bunch of different styles and genres, etc. But I grew up playing drums. Primarily, that was like my main thing until probably my early 20s. Naturally spent a lot of time in studios, and then when I decided to kind of get more into the production stuff, self-taught, and just sort of had a couple mentors and teachers that sort of guided me and gave me sort of the legs to stand on, so to speak.
Yeah.
I guess being a musician obviously helped sort of fuel the production side and that sort of creative side of me.
Yeah, absolutely. What sort of, you said world music was a big thing growing up. Like, what did that influence your like drumming and your taste in music into your 20s and stuff as well?
Yeah, I mean, 100%. I guess growing up in South Africa, I didn't realize that's what it was called, world music. I just took it as music, as music, you know. So I guess later when I studied music, like contemporary performance. This was, excuse my language, back in 2010 to 2012, 13, sort of learnt about Brazilian music and Cuban music and different styles of African music and drumming and Middle Eastern music, and sort of saw the similarities of how it all sort of tied back to things that I was exposed to as a kid, and saw the the influence that Africa had on music that we know today, you know, even popular styles like rhythm and blues and rock and different styles, you know, it all sort of has these commonalities that sort of tie it all in together. And yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, that sort of that area of the world, the drumming element is such a important part of that sort of stuff as well. Like drums really lead everything in all those African genres, really.
100%.
Yeah, that would have been so like, I mean, like you said, it was second nature to you, but it would have been such a benefit, like having that area of, you know, rhythm in your DNA.
Totally. Yeah. And
Yeah.
like, I guess it's the same for all of our respective journeys to get to where we are today. Like you exposed to different people you've played with or maybe worked with in the studio or toured with or whatever your background is. And it all sort of gets to that point where it's made you who you are today, you know?
Absolutely.
So yeah, I've played in reggae bands and blues bands and worked with dancehall artists from the Caribbean or worked with rock bands that sort of are on the completely other, like opposite sides of the musical spectrum, but you can kind of apply that knowledge of rhythm or melody or harmony or whatever to these different styles. And it kind of gives it a different flavor rather than just being, I just produce hip hop or I just produce pop music, you know?
Definitely. And you said you learnt about music, so in a formal aspect. Talk us through that. What do you remember from those days? Like, you know, were you surrounded with like a lot of like-minded people, or were you kind of the one? Because I feel like I went through the education thing and I feel like there's only a few in each class that are really, really, really into it. And I'm guessing you were one of them.
Oh man, 100%. We still talk about it. Like some of the people I still work with today, I studied with. And man, I don't know what the actual stat was, but I don't think more than 2, 3, maybe 4% of the people I started with maybe finished that sort of tertiary level education. But even as a youngin', like when I started going to get drum lessons, like my parents didn't really help me out with that stuff. Maybe they gave me like, I don't know, what do they call like pocket money when I was like 11 or 12 years old. And they'd be like, most of the kids would go buy candy and I'd be like, I'm going to go get a drum lesson, you know, like. So I guess that commitment to like really knowing what you love and knowing what your calling is, for lack of a better term. Yeah, if you love it, you're going to do it, you know?
Yeah, absolutely.
There were a lot of people I went to uni with that, yeah, they just came and messed around and maybe they did 1 or 2 trimesters or whatever we were doing. And that was kind of like maybe a phase for them. But yeah, I literally, I don't know what else I would do. Just music.
Absolutely. I mean, it's funny, like for me, like I dabbled in like photography and media and stuff like that, but there was always music going on. And then it came to a point where I eventually studied and stuck with like audio technical production and stuff. And I was like, what the fuck was I doing?
Yeah. I guess with the production stuff, with the, like that transition into doing more production, I guess a lot of the gigs I was doing and the people I was working with in the live space kind of like hindered my creative, what's the word? How do I say this? How creatively satisfied I was, you know, I kind of wasn't enjoying the gigs I was doing, the tours I was doing. I was like, kind of forgot that inner child in me of why I even wanted to play music in the first place. So, yeah, I guess the stuff that like I always was attracted to musically and sonically was stuff that sounded great, that sounded like sophisticated, but still was digestible. So yeah, I guess that was kind of a motivating factor to sort of get into the production bag, was to be like, cool, the music's there. Like we can make music for days. It's more about like the understanding how to work in a DAW and understanding routing and signal flow. And, you know, I guess that's, we're always going to be a student, you know? So that's kind of.
And do you remember like who you were looking up to back then? Like who were your like North Star goalpost idols?
Oh, man. I mean, that could be answered on like a micro level and then like a macro level where you're like, I know as a muso, we always got taught to like transcribe our ideas. Like if we were a saxophonist or a drummer and you liked a certain solo or a riff or something, you'd actually learn how to play that sort of, that idea and get that technique and that sort of feel or whatever sound under your, sort of in your audio toolbox, so to speak, or musical toolbox. So I guess there was like producers that I obviously was really inspired by and try to replicate that sort of sound or feel or groove. Or so I don't know, people like Pharrell, Dre, Timbo, people that I grew up listening to. But then, yeah, people in Sydney, couple of, I don't know if you'd know a guy called Dan Naver. He's an amazing producer. He was literally the first person that taught me how to like arm a recording track and like press record. Like he taught me from the ground up, and I still call him if I have questions. If I'm in a studio I haven't worked in, I'm like, oh, bro, this patch bay looks confusing. I call him call him up, and he's always there for me. Or
sick.
Even now, I'm working out of a place called QUIN Studios in Sydney. So yeah, the guys here, we're always asking each other stuff, and people teaching me, I'm teaching people. We're always sharing. There's no gatekeeping, you know? We're always trying to lift each other up instead of the opposite, you know?
Oh, it's the way to do it. And I think you touched on a really interesting point that hasn't really been mentioned before, is that trying to replicate the things that you love. And that's a really great thing. It happened to me when I was learning drums as well. Is like my drum teacher was always asking me to transcribe stuff, and it gives you that deeper understanding, but also like intellectually you can process it a bit better when you have to try and replicate it, not only with your brain and being like, what are they actually doing, but writing it out is a very it changes kind of how you think about things. And I think these days when I'm going into like business stuff these days, for me, it's like, okay, I understand it conceptually, but now I want to like write it out and kind of see what it means to me. So that's a really, really great point that I love that you brought up.
Yeah. I mean, as I said it, and I'm hearing you sort of say these things back to me, that idea of like imposter syndrome, where someone might feel like they're not being authentic to themselves or whatever. But even if, like, I didn't even know you play drums, but let's use that as an example. Let's say you play a really straight ahead, funky groove or something, and I play that exact same groove back. That's still going to be you, and it's not going to sound like you. So I think people get in their heads a lot about, this doesn't sound like me or whatever. No, it does sound like you. It's your own flavor on it, and you're never going to do it like verbatim like someone else did. So you're always going to have like your own flavor and personality in it, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. 100%. Well, talk to us more about how you did move into more producing as opposed to just being a performer.
Bro, I remember it clearly. It was a very clear-cut thing. It was 2016, maybe halfway through 2016, and I had an upcoming, like, I think it was like a 3-week sort of stint in Australia, New Zealand, somewhere with a band. And I don't know, I just wasn't looking forward to it. It didn't have that same excitement that like I'd normally have from maybe in my earlier 20s or something. And I ended up going to travel for leisure after this tour. And I said I wasn't going to do just random gigs just for the bag, you know, just really be a bit more selective with who I play with. And I'm going to get a laptop and start to teach myself how to put my ideas onto paper, so to speak. But yeah, DAW, just learning how to put my ideas into the door. And I guess for the first 4 years, it was really like I didn't really have my bridge down to industry sort of people. And I guess maybe after COVID, that was kind of where it sort of became my primary, not only source of income, but just my primary focus, you know?
Mm.
So yeah, probably 2016 to 17 was when it was like probably just a really intensive of just learning how to get around, you know?
Mm-hmm.
But
And
yeah.
were there people guiding you, or are you just doing it yourself?
Yeah, primarily just by myself. But like I said, I had like maybe a handful of people that were also in that sort of muso sort of live space. That the guy I mentioned before, Dan, he did a lot of lives, had a big history in doing like live sound and stuff. So he also kind of shied away from the live stuff and spent more time in studios. And yeah, I just used to sit and pick his brain. And
Yeah, I love it.
he used to get me to like edit vocals for him and learning how to edit stuff and just becoming a bit more proficient on just getting smoother and faster. And yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
And do you remember kind of the like what were the challenges, I think? Because like, you know, I think a lot of people that might check this podcast out, they're either, I think, established, or they're people that are just learning from scratch. So they could probably empathize with where you're at. You know, back then, what sort of things do you remember struggling with, or like uncovering and being like, holy shit, this is sick?
man, so many moments of like, you know, I don't know if you've heard of that expression, like aha moments, where you like have this checkpoint where you feel like you've cracked something. And then I think as being someone on the receiving end of being in a studio, not someone like driving the bus, I always felt like it was a lot smoother when someone was a lot quicker and like things were just flowing a lot. So I think, and from the feedback I've gotten from people that I've worked with, is that sometimes my brain moves quicker than what I can actually do, and I'm quite quick at like, I don't know, just sort of mixing and editing on the go type vibe.
Yeah.
So I guess that was something I had sort of took the time to sort of get good at, just being quick and proficient and making decisions and committing to things in the moment, because yeah, that kind of keeps the ball rolling a lot quicker and that creative sort of flow. I don't know if that sentence made sense or not.
Yeah,
but
absolutely. Yeah. I kind of want to paint a picture a little bit of what it looks like for you now in terms of where you spend your time, because you do, like you said, you produce, you engineer, you mix. Like, paint us a bit of a picture of what it looks like these days.
Man, if we were talking 20 plus years ago, someone that was an engineer was an engineer. That's what they did. They recorded people, and that was their world. Same with producers, same with songwriters, same with all that stuff. Whereas it's kind of like a given that people that engineer kind of have a bit of production chops and kind of mixing chops and all these different sort of tools in their sort of arsenal. So yeah, like I said, when I started, I like wanted to be a producer, you know, and then you started getting into it and working with different people, and you sort of have to pull these different things from your so-called toolbox to be like, okay, cool, I can engineer and I can produce and I didn't even offer mixing services until a couple of years ago, and people were kind of pushing me. They're like, man, your shit sounds good. This is like another sort of stream you can, sort of explore.
Yeah. And so when you look at your process these days and, you know, say 5 years ago, how has it changed? What things do you think that you are really good at now that maybe you weren't so good at? I mean, obviously most things, I'm guessing, but are there key things that you think now that you do that you're like, I know that was something that I really did completely differently back then?
100%. I mean, the first thing that came to my head was being more proficient at other instruments, because I was always really good at doing drums and bass and stuff. And then I guess cooking up on the spot became a lot smoother as I got better at sort of getting my ideas out on keys, guitar, sort of programming more harmonic information. So yeah, that was a big thing. I think in my formative years, I used to just pump out hella beats all the time. And I wouldn't say it was apprehensive to work with people in person in my earlier years, but it was kind of a bit more like, oh, is this going to go smoothly? Is this going to be, just speaking vulnerably right now. But I think now that's not really a thought in my head. I'm like, feel pretty confident to be put in the room with any style, male, female, old, young, doesn't, So I think being able to express yourself on a bunch of different sort of mediums does help me a lot.
And how would you say that you did that? How did you get better at that? Like, was it just a matter of volume?
I just practiced. I mean, I did go to uni, so I did have a bit of the harmonic knowledge. I could it's up here. I think it's more just about getting it out, So if I did have some spare time in the studio and I could be like, I could make a new beat, I'd be like, no, I'm going to practice playing this chord progression in a bunch of different keys, or I'm going to, I've got a friend lent me a Juno one. I've got a 106 in the studio now, and I'm like, you could get on that synth and get on a completely different synth, and it's a whole new world. So I don't know, just spending time and sort of nerding out and understanding how to get around different instruments, sounds, knowing what sounds are good for what styles or what sort of vibe you're into.
Yeah, absolutely. And then is there a way that you kind of go about being creative, I guess? Is like, do you have a thing that you do every day to get you in the mood, or is it something where you walk in the studio and you're good to go?
It's a good question. It depends. It's funny with people that I work regularly with. I'll often say something like, "Are we going to start with the drums? Are we going to start with the bass? Are we going to start with the melody? Are we going to start with just the vocals maybe and then build around that?" So I might do that with someone I feel a bit more comfortable with, whereas if I'm working with someone I haven't, or even just by myself, I might be a bit more like open to going along whatever feels right. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I know that seems very vague, but sometimes it calls for not having a plan and just sort of not having a reference or not having an idea. Sometimes it's the complete opposite. Sometimes you're like, I need the drums to come in first because that's going to kind of set the mood. Sometimes it's, it's not.
Yeah. I love it. It's so true. Like it depends on everything really. Like it depends on who you're working with, their level of experience, like the genre of the style of the song that you're cooking up, like how proficient you are in all that sort of stuff. So like you said, it's so dependent on that. And I love the idea of, letting the creative aspect of it kind of lead the way in some sessions. I think some of those 100%. Sessions are the most fun, I think.
100%. I mean, I just had this thought before. A lot of the artists that might come in, incredible writers, incredible performers, but might not have the same musical knowledge theoretically so sometimes you have to use different language to kind of get the idea across. I was with someone the other week actually, and I don't know, something simple like the word tempo. They might not understand what tempo even means, and
right.
Or key signatures. To me, when I hear D minor is a whole different vibe to A flat minor, and I'm like, they're like, "Oh no, it's just the same thing." I'm like, "No, it's kind of not. It's going to make someone feel a completely different way, So those are the kind of things that I kind of have to take my nerdy brain out of and be like, "Cool, I'm talking to someone that's not on a different sort of wavelength."
Yeah. I think it's so true. Like, I've talked about it so many times on this podcast, and most of my guests bring it up, to be honest, is like the communication is like probably the most important thing when you're working with someone to get the best result. It's not necessarily 100%. About the right thing, but getting the best outcome for both of you. I think without a doubt, communication, it's like any relationship, honestly. It's like,
man, there's, I don't know, this is something I do try practice because I wouldn't call it impatience, but I do like to work quickly. Like if I'm vibing, I want it to flow, you know? Whereas people that I record, especially vocals, people that I work with regularly, they know how we kind of got it down. I'm just like,
Let's go.
It's working.
Let's
Whereas
pump it out,
sometimes someone's like, yo, man, you got to slow down, just relax. Like, I'm also like, call me old school, but I'm also like, if you get it on the first take, I'm all about that. Like, fucking don't even do it again. That was fucking hectic.
Yep.
Whereas sometimes it's the opposite and you kind of need to sort of milk it a little bit. So yeah, everybody works differently, but yeah, I got to kind of sometimes remind myself, you're talking about communication to sort of, it almost doesn't need to be verbal half the time. It's sort of just a body language vibe sort of thing where you're like, cool, this person needs a bit more time to kind of settle into things, you know?
Yeah. And is there sessions that spring to mind or anything like that, that maybe it hasn't gone the way that you would have expected? And how do you approach those sorts of things where maybe it's just not going the way that you hoped it would?
Oh, wow. So many. On the positive side and the negative side where I'm like, oh, I'm not going to do that again. Here's one, like let's say people like to bring in a YouTube beat or like an instrumental from somewhere else. I think it's like pretty common practice to find your tempo and your key before you start anything. So I think there was once where we banged out a few songs in the night and it was pretty late. And I think I forgot to set the grid before we started recording. It was with a pretty big artist. I won't mention any names, but got like fucking halfway through the song, excuse my language, and I'm like, oh my God, just stop for a sec. I had to consolidate everything, get the tempo, bring it back in, and like kind of like you move some things around. I was like, it's kind of sweating bullets on the spot. And then I don't think anybody realized. I kind of told everyone, let's just take a break for a second, kind of cleaned it all up.
Classic.
But it was like this, I was like, phew. Imagine I sent the stems and nothing's lining up, and I was like, oh no. So, I don't know,
That's
moments
great.
like that, like silly mistakes.
But I think bringing up, like taking a break, like other people in that situation, if they weren't able to like stay calm and in control of that moment, would have potentially spilled the beans and made it look like you didn't know what the fuck you were doing.
I was like, oh guys, I fucked it up. The tempo's not right. No.
But honestly, like that sort of stuff can really make or break
the vibe,
the next job. And yeah, the vibe. Exactly. So, you know, you've got a lot of releases under your belt, under your name as well, and a lot of, you know, collaborations. Talk us through that. You're, you know, obviously releasing music under your name. So how does that come into things? Like, is that primarily what you do?
At the beginning of the music making production sort of journey for me, I didn't really let people know, so to speak, about sort of outsourcing my skills as a producer or a songwriter or helping people kind of finesse their process. So I just started putting stuff out under my own sort of moniker. It's funny, some of my biggest stream songs are from 2017, 2018 that like I don't even like fuck with sonically, but they kind of have like a place in time that people still running it up. I hear it on playlists in like random places and stuff.
So cool.
But yeah, so when maybe post-COVID, that's kind of like when I started reaching out and working with different people. What was the question again?
Well, like, I mean, where does it come into play? Is that kind of a primary thing that you do? Is that mostly...
So, yeah, sorry, I remember what you were saying. So yeah, so some releases with people I'm a bit more comfortable with, and it kind of lines up stylistically and sort of with the same sort of ethos that I would be proud to release. So down to be a primary artist on that stuff. But yeah, for a lot of like the stuff I do for like sync or label stuff, that's more just, back end, keep the publishing separate, whatever. And then nothing to do with Miggy as an artist.
Yep.
But it just depends.
And I think it's important to like expand on it because a lot of youngins won't know that process and like how you establish whether you're on the track or not. Like, I think, like, paint us a picture a bit more of that. Yeah.
There's some people that I've met when they were like 14, 15, 16 that are like in their 20s now that still don't have APRA. They're not even APRA members yet. So like, I don't even have that conversation with people that are in that sort of, they make incredible music and they're like some of my favorite artists, but I'm not like in a managerial role where I'm like gonna be babysitting and like spoon feeding them and like, you know, I don't know if that makes sense, but yeah. I think if you're gonna, it kind of separates the boys from the men if you're like doing this as something that you enjoy and it's a really fond hobby of yours versus I'm really trying to pursue my artistry here and all your ducks are in line and you really have all the foundation and groundwork sort of set up to propagate your career if it did sort of go the direction that you were planning it or hoping for it to go, you know? A lot of people are like, oh, I'll sort it out when I get a big hit. I'm like, all right, cool.
That's backwards mentality.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And you mentioned sync placements. You've done a bunch of syncs with a bunch of different labels and organizations. You know, how does that come about? And how do you try and keep those relationships going?
So my brother and I, we run a label called New Jupiter. So a lot of the sync stuff for TV, games, licensing sort of stuff goes through the New Jupiter sort of umbrella. So done stuff for Warner Chappell, BMG, Sony ATV, done stuff for Reifer and Valorant and a bunch of different trailers and stuff. I just landed something on the new, what's it, Heartbreak High? There's a new season of Heartbreak High. I don't know, just random things like that.
Yep.
Which unfortunately a lot of the production gigs are getting outsourced to this big AI engine that are kind of people execute kind of a bit more in an executive kind of role and overseeing this new transition with using AI stuff. But the writing gigs are still there because you can kind of feel the difference between the human and the AI writing. But so that's kind of one side of things. With the label, with the artist stuff, I guess it's more on a case-to-case basis with people that I'm working with week in, week out. And I might cut 50 demos with someone in a year and nothing gets released, or I might cut 2 songs with someone and I don't know, you know, it doesn't really, there's no formula to like what is going to come to fruition or not in that sort of lane. But yeah.
Yeah, I love it. I want to get a bit nerdy with you now. What are some of your favorite tools that you like to use, whether that's software, hardware, instruments, mics, whatever it might be? What are some of the things that stick out to you that you can't live without?
Well, I'm a real simple guy. I mean, I've worked in studios with like a lot of outboard stuff and I've worked in rooms with like a million different synth options and drum machines. And bro, in my room that I'm in now, I've got a bunch of guitars, I've got my synth, I've got a bunch of MIDI controllers and my interface, a couple mic options. There's nothing crazy in here, but man, honestly, I could probably get away with just a simple MIDI keyboard and my laptop, to be honest.
Yeah.
This mic I'm using now is actually got sent to us by a client that we work with in Europe. That's a Mojave MA201 FET, which is like it was originally a prototype and I like it. Sounds great. They've got a Telefunken 251 downstairs, U87 downstairs. There's a bunch of mic options. I still end up going with this guy.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then when it comes to...
I don't know if you can see it. I don't want to move it because it's hooked up, but got a 106 over here. My brother actually just dropped off his jazz bass over here because he's moving houses at the moment. So he's like, can I leave my bass at your studio? I was like, bring it here. Yeah, so like if you went through the catalog of stuff that I worked through, just beats and instrumentals, I would say there's an equal amount of stuff that's completely programmed versus stuff that's like live and tracked and So yeah, it depends on the day really. But man, even with studios that I work in that have 1,000,001 options of outboard gear, 9 times out of 10, I might go through a preamp or something and a tiny bit of compression, but 9 times out of 10, I know I'm going to bring it back in to the digital world, and I don't want to oversource it when I say source, I mean SAUCE.
Yeah.
Oversource it
Yeah.
when I'm actually tracking, you know?
You don't want to burn it in the oven.
Exactly. I'm also that, yeah, I don't know. Because then, yeah.
And then when it comes to mixing and, finalizing songs and stuff like that, do you feel like you have a sound? Do you like your type of music is very modern, like all of the stuff that I was going through. It's like, it is, cutting edge when it comes to mixing and, just sonically, like it's the modern sound. So
Thank you.
talk us through that, man.
From the feedback I'm getting from Australian clients, I don't know if, like, from my experience, people always tell me it's too clean, it's too it's too poppy, it's too this and that. Whereas most of the people that I'm in contact with, LA client, like people in the States, LA clients, always great feedback. Love the way I send my stems. Love the workflow. Really easy to work with. Whereas I don't know, like, I don't want to speak badly on the Aussie market, but yeah, I think people need to take a bit more pride in what their stuff sounds like.
Not grimy enough, man. Not
dirty
and garage
I think there's a time
sounding.
and place, like for, at least in the hip hop space, the stuff I like is dirty and grimy, but it's still got this like finesse to it. That's,
pristine.
It's not just
and
like
attention
shockingly
to detail.
engineered. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. No, I think you're right. And then, like, honestly, I think it's so hard because everyone wants something different. But I think for me as well, like, I always am drawn to something that's cleaner and sounds polished and stuff because, and not too over compressed and squashed. And like, I don't love, things that sound overly clipped and just squished together. I think things need to breathe. But I think in general, finding that middle ground is a really good place because, you can cover both of those bases, really.
Yeah, you still want it to be musical at the end of the day. Like, I'm saying that I'm guilty of this because I like hearing really loud. Like, the feedback. Sorry, let me rewind. The feedback I get is your drums are too loud. Your drums are hitting too hard. I'm like,
because you're a drummer.
I'm like, fucking oath, you know. But some people. Some people don't like loud drums, so I kind of have to take my ego out of it and be like, okay, I'm going to turn the drums down. Or maybe clip them a little bit less, depending on the style. But
I think that's another good thing to touch on as well is like when you get mixed feedback and, you either, like, how do you approach it? I guess is just a really blanket thing to ask. Like, what's your approach when it comes to mixed feedback and getting mixes back, if you agree or disagree?
I guess any mix engineer would hopefully agree with me that you want it to be something that's going to make the song better and not some vague thing where you're like, oh, this section doesn't feel right, or can you make this one like a bit wavier, or like something really vague. I'm like, oh, I'm just going to ignore that. But if it's something that of course, I'm here to like make the song what the client wants the song to be, So like, if there's something that I need a bit more clarification on, I'll definitely ask. I'm not just going to shoot in the dark, just to not have to work double or not sort of land what they wanted. But I had someone in the other week where they wanted to attend a mix session, and whenever someone says that, I'm like, "Are you sure?" And they're like, "Yeah, I want to be there. I want to see what you're doing." I'm like, a lot of tedious stuff that goes on. I'm going to be editing. I'm going to be like EQing stuff. I'm going to be like referencing different things. And they're like, no, I want to be there. And then like there was this section of the song and they were like, I wanted to have a little bit less reverb. They wanted the vocals a bit more forward or something, some sort of reflection issue. And I was working on a completely different element of the song. It wasn't even the vocals. And they're like, oh, that's perfect. And I was like, I didn't they didn't do anything.
Yeah.
And then so sometimes it is, if someone asks to fix a certain thing, I think a lot of people don't realize that maybe the vocals are a bit too bright, but then you dial the vocals down and now the hats are fucking singing too loud or like something. So sometimes it's not actually what they're saying. You kind of got to think what's actually making them feel like that's the issue. Maybe it's something completely different. So
it's such a great point, man. Everything in a mix is relative. So once you touch something, it affects everything else. I think it's such a good point. And then you don't want to get stuck spinning the wheels of like, okay, I turned the vocals up, but now the guitar's missing. So now I've got to turn the guitars up, but now the bass is too quiet.
Also, like in 2026, most people are working into their mix bus. You know, you got all the things on your mix bus that are, forget about limiters and stuff. I'm just talking just workflow of what's gluing your whole thing together. You tweak half a dB or you push a shelf in one direction and then throws something phase out of whack or something goes out of whack and you're like, they think, oh, this is, you turn the vocals up. It's like, no, man, I actually turn the snare down, you know, or like, I don't know, something along those lines.
Yep, 100%. I love it. All great points. I want to move more into the business side of things, the music industry side of things. When you're, you've already mentioned speed as a primary thing that you've focused on at improving. Are there any other kind of big things that stand out to you when it comes to, the business side of things? Anything like that sticks out to you as something that you really like to focus on and hang your hat on?
When you say business, you mean everything that's not music?
Not specific to production and mixing and stuff like that.
I mean, I think this goes without saying that the most simple things are going to get people to enjoy working with you. And also the other way around, me enjoying working with other people is just be a nice and easy person to work with. Don't rock up late. If you are going to rock up late, let me know. Don't come in with like this ego thing. We're both here. I don't know, just simple things like that are like, forget about contracts and agreements and splits. And I'm not even talking about that. I'm just talking about just being easy to work with, I guess. Because, if I've had people come in and within 10 minutes they smacked out on the couch or passed out or fucking I've had to shut down sessions because people are too drunk or like, I don't want to be around that. I'm like here to, you can have a good time, 100%. I like having a good time, but like I don't want to blur the line between having a good time and actually locking in and trying to get a solid result, I've had to call off sessions because people are just too rowdy or So that's probably my first thing before you even get into
it's
deeper into the
Yep. Any kind of expectation versus reality things when it comes to the music industry and, being a creative professional, like before, in your early days when you're on the outside, like you're not really in it, you have these expectations of how things work and how they're going to go down. Is there anything that kind of you can point to that maybe differs to what it looks like on the outside for people that are, again, just like kind of starting out?
For sure. I mean, kind of touched on it before in terms of having the foundation and groundwork set up to kind of have legs to stand on as being like someone that's really trying to pursue this and not just come in the studio and make dope music. So I think when you say about expectation versus what the reality is, like I think a lot of people sort of skip that sort of step of making themselves not only on the music and creative front look reputable and sound reputable, but you're also going to kind of have the other side set up as well. Because there've been people with songs that have performed really well on streaming and like I said, they don't even have their APRA set up, they don't have any agreements set up or this and that. And it's all out of good faith because I don't want to hinder their journey, but and this is people that I'm like on a talking or sort of warmer relationship sort of basis. But yeah, you can't expect to be the biggest artist in the world if you're not acting like the biggest artist in the world outside of the studio, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Like, let's say someone like that got hit up to do fucking support for fucking Kendrick Lamar next week. I think they'd crumble under the pressure, crumble under the infrastructure that they have around them right now, you know?
Yep. And I think it takes like lessons like that to learn something that's hard, and it makes or breaks people. And I think the more that you can get ahead and think forward, I think this is something that I'm really passionate about educating people on, is like you gotta be thinking ahead. You can't be just going, like you said earlier, you said like, oh, I'll deal with it when this happens or when that happens. It's the wrong mindset, because you're setting yourself up for something to go wrong rather than setting yourself up for everything to go right.
1,000,000%.
Yeah. And then, when you, if something does happen to go wrong, because nothing's perfect, you can't always just be winning.
More things go wrong than right.
Yeah. But at least you're at that point where you can be like, hey, just give me a day or something like that to just give yourself a bit distance, and, you won't be correcting 500 things instead of one.
Totally. I'm working on a big, like, it's like this 15-track project with these two guys, and they're like sort of talking about the music, and then they go through to like these visual ideas, and then they go through to agreements, and then they go through to like touring ideas and different, like, jumping around. I said, guys, we're in the studio, we're working on the music. Let's not talk about the stuff. Let's get the music done.
Yeah.
And then we can go to town and all the other stuff. Like, whereas I don't blame people for getting excited. And I wouldn't say, I'm definitely not diagnosed, but I definitely have some sort of attention thing going on. And I think maybe a lot of creatives do, where you kind of get really honed in and focus on a certain thing. So it is a blessing and a curse. But sometimes you need to, whether it's business or whether it's creative or whether it's whatever you're doing, don't get too distracted and get the task done, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. I love it. What things do you think, if you're reflecting back on your time, what things do you think you would have gone back and either changed or just worked harder at earlier on?
It's a good question. Wow. I definitely don't think I could have worked harder, because I do spend a lot of time, or whatever time I do have, doing what I love to do. But wow, I'm stuck. I want to answer it for myself as well.
Could be anything. Could be
I'm
musical. It could be, like we're just talking about business stuff.
Yeah, I guess on the business front, maybe with people that I don't have as much of a warm connection with, not being so, and I guess it comes with experience, but not being so naive and trusting and doing too many things out of good faith. Because, I guess everyone does get their fingers burned at some stage, or kind of might not get treated in the right way. But you're saying as if I would have done it differently. It's happened, and it's brought us all to where we are today. But I think there were definitely moments where if I was maybe a bit more versed in, I guess not being so naive or trusting in certain situations. Yeah. But like I said before, it's kind of unavoidable. You can't just expect to understand.
And I think that's a hard one too, because obviously there has to be an element of goodwill to like everything, really. Like, you can't completely just, because then people won't want to work with you because you're a hard ass. Maybe
exactly.
Like
there is
too far the other end. Yeah.
And we are blessed because we love what we do. I really do love what I do, and it doesn't matter if I'm working with someone with 200 monthly listeners or 1 million monthly listeners. I'm still gonna work the same, I'm still going to give it my 100, and that's just, I can't not do that. So I guess when that gets taken advantage of, I mean, now there's kind of like a bit more of a black and white sort of side to cool. If you treat me with love and respect, I'm going to give you that back, you know? If it's not, I just don't have time for it at the moment.
Yeah. I think, leading with that is such a important thing as well. Like, I think you said, you give what you get, and to lead with love and goodwill and being a good person at the forefront. I think that does come back to you, and it's kind of, there might be people that try to take advantage of that stuff, but again, with experience, you kind of start to see the red flags, and you can kind of pick them out a bit earlier.
Totally.
I want to touch a little bit. You mentioned New Jupiter earlier. Talk us through a bit of that. Like, you guys have been here at Marshall Street. You're all over the place. Like, talk us through that. It's pretty cool.
So it's changed a lot over the years. It originally started as a record label which took care of publishing and had a management sector. A lot of the most of the artists that we have worked with really closely have either gone into more family-oriented lives. Some have not in the country at the moment. Some aren't pursuing. So that's kind of morphed into more focusing on the Jupiter Session side of stuff, which is our YouTube channel. We did a grant with Create New South Wales. We came to Marshall Street as well.
Yep.
Bunch of rural and sort of metro areas around. We did Queensland, New South Wales, and Victoria, parts of Victoria, which was really great. In the process of lining up another one, which fingers crossed will be Northern Territory.
Awesome.
Done a bunch of film days in LA with some great artists over there. So that's been very blessed to have recorded some incredible artists and learn more about their lives and culture and story and message.
Unreal.
Which, been really inspiring, that journey with Jupiter Sessions. And then the publishing side was, like I said before, all the sync stuff that we do with a bunch of different publishers as all through that New Jupiter sort of funnel. Very blessed to have worked with some of the people through that.
It's such a cool initiative. I think, it's great to be able to showcase that. I think, there's not enough of that these days. I feel like there was a lot of those sorts of things, and I know that there still are a bunch of those things happening still, but you love to see it, and you hope to see it more. So good stuff, bro. That's sick.
I mean, I don't know if you guys realize, but it's been a little bit quieter over the last 6 to 12 months with our output of content. And it's just not many people realize that Jupiter Sessions team is myself, my brother, and I don't know if you've met Ben Monty that we work with.
If you guys came through, then I met ya.
Yeah, exactly. So it's a very small, tight-knit team,
Yes.
all the pre- and post-productions all within those three people. And we have not made $1 off it. If anything, we've hemorrhaged a lot of time and money into that project. So I think there's this, this need to review and see where that demand is for it. Because when there's just love being put out and it's not really, the engagement's there, the views are there and everything, but the actual need and want for it is kind of diminishing in this world of short form content, and everything's so saturated and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
So the last few episodes that we did, we called them hero shots, and we do them in more of a panoramic, open sort of environment that resonates with the artist, makes them feel a bit more connected to the performance. So it's kind of moving more towards a multimedia, not strictly just music. It could be a storyteller, motivational speaker, a DJ. I haven't done comedy yet, but I really want to do comedians.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Just not box it in, because I feel like, at least in Australia, the music space can be quite, tall poppy and blah, blah, blah. And people think that might be a bit too cool to support other people, but I think that's what is needed, you know?
Yeah. Well, keen to see what happens with it, man. I guess I just want to find out a bit more what's coming up for you in the next, 3 months, 6 months. What things are you stoked on? What are you getting excited about?
I am very excited for this project that I'm doing with these twins. I don't know if you've heard of them, Eternal Engine. They're working on with myself, working on this 15-track massive album that they've been wanting to do for a while, and they've finally put in the work and time to sort of get that over the line. I'm working with a mix engineer in LA that I originally was going to mix the whole project, but I really want to enjoy the album. Whereas if I mix it, I'm going to have like a different take on it. So I'm sending it to a friend of mine in the States who I'm going to go see late July, sort of finalize that.
Sick.
So yeah, half passion project, half wanting them to really smash it because I love those guys.
Nice.
Working on a bunch of mixes, working with a bunch of different sort of like little production teams that have kind of got some things in the works. I'd love to spend more time in the States and have a reason to sort of be there.
Mm-hmm.
But TBC.
Yeah, cool, man.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, I always like to finish off the episode with best advice that you could give to producer engineer types that are in their first 5 years, and then secondly, for any artists that might be checking this out.
So to people in that creative space, producers, songwriters, just be you, be authentically you, make things that you love, be inspired by the world around you, but don't forget what makes you love this thing that we love, music, and don't forget why we do it. We want to inspire people just the way we got inspired. So I keep reminding myself that inner child to remind myself how excited I got when I went to go watch a show or heard a record for the first time, or that real top tier fan that you were as a kid to your favorite artist. Hopefully you'll have that effect on someone.
That's sick. Yeah, I love that. And then for artists?
For artists, I mean, I'm going to say the same thing. Don't lose who you are, and don't write and tell someone else's story, tell your story. And yeah, I'm saying this to myself as well, but don't be scared to break the rules a little bit. You know, we learn the rules and then groundbreaking things happen from mistakes and things that you didn't expect to happen. So don't get too comfortable and get out of your comfort zone and try things that you wouldn't normally try, whether that's tone or lyrics or style. Yeah.
Fantastic. Well, that's awesome, man. I really appreciate your time today. Thank you so much for joining me. Awesome. And for anyone that's stuck around this far and stayed till the end, I really, really appreciate you spending your time with us today. Do us a favor, share the podcast around. We want to spread the word about all these amazing guests that we have on here, and, stay up to date, follow, subscribe, all that awesome stuff that you hear every content creator say. It really does make a difference. But yeah, thank you again. And thanks, Miggy. And we'll see you next time on What's That Sound podcast. Thanks for listening to What's That Sound. Make sure you hit follow or subscribe on your podcast platform to stay up to date with each new episode. We'll catch you next time.